Good afternoon everybody and welcome to this Point Beyond webinar, What's New in Power BI. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping tasks to mention. This session is being recorded and we will make the recording available to attendees afterwards. Additionally, we will have a Q&A session at the end, so if you would like to post any questions, please do post them in the panel that you should see on the right hand side of the screen, and I'll be happy to address them, as I say, at the end. Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Woodgate. I'm the Managing Director of Point Beyond. Point Beyond is an IT solutions business. We're focused mainly on solutions on the Microsoft stack. So as well as running the company, I spend a lot of my time looking at new technologies and advising our customers on their use. And Power BI has been something that I've been investing quite a lot of time in looking at recently. I believe it's a very new, exciting and game-changing technology, and hopefully in this session I'll be able to share with you some of the latest and greatest features that have now been introduced to the Power BI platform. The agenda for today is really quite simple. I'm going to do a quick introduction to Power BI for those of you that may not be very familiar with it, and it's two major components, the Power BI service and the Power BI desktop. I'm then going to highlight some new features and talk a little bit about the pace of change in Power BI, and then we're going to do quite a lot of demos actually, just looking through different pieces of functionality with a particular focus on what's been released in Power BI in the last 2 or 3 months. Then talk about what you might want to do next, and as I said before, we'll wrap up with the Q&A session. So let's get started with Power BI, an overview of Power BI and where Power BI comes from, because actually it's an evolution of things that you've already heard of, and it leverages tools and approaches that you may already be familiar with. So things like Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, and also Excel. And that's really important because it means that the barrier to adoption of Power BI and the need for user training are both greatly reduced. So the first component I'm going to start with is the Power BI cloud service. So this is used to host dashboards, reports and visualizations, and also sometimes our data, and it allows presentation through browsers, and there are also native mobile applications. We can also share our dashboards with other users within our organization, and we've got something also called natural language query, but I'll be showing in the demo, which allows us to ask questions of the data that we've got in Power BI and get answers interactively using plain English. Content packs are pre-prepared packages that allow you to very quickly create Power BI dashboards for many applications such as QuickBooks, Google Analytics, Salesforce, Dynamics CRM, and many more. And finally, we've got data refresh. This refreshes the data in Power BI, whether it's cloud or on-premises data. On-premises data is refreshed using a data management gateway service that allows you a very secure connection to your on-premises data without the need to make any incoming holes in your firewall. Okay, now let's look at the data sources that we can connect to. As I'll show you in a minute, we can connect securely to a wide range of data sources, including on-premises ones like SQL Server and analysis services, and also cloud-hosted ones. And I've mentioned content packs just now. You can also create your own custom content packs if you want to. Okay, so what are the main tools for creating our reports and visualizations? One option is to do it directly in the browser using the Power BI service. But most of the time, you'll be looking to use one of two tools, either Excel or Power BI Desktop. And normally Power BI Desktop is the best tool to use because it keeps pace with the changes that are being made to the service much more rapidly than Excel. And it's a free download that's available from the Microsoft Power BI site. Anyway, with either of these tools, you go through a 4-step process. First of all, you prepare your data using Power Query, and that's a powerful yet easy to use data manipulation tool. Most of the time, what we're actually doing is loading our data into a powerful in-memory database which is the Power Pivot database. This database scales to hundreds of millions of rows of data, but if you have very large data sets or particularly complex calculations, you have the option to hook Power BI up to SQL Server analysis services, or even leverage tools like Hadoop. Once our data is in Power Pivot, we model it. So we're creating relationships, calculated fields, KPIs, and so forth. When all of that is done, we can create our interactive reports, which contain the visualizations that we want. Finally, when all that is done, we can publish to the Power BI service, share with colleagues, and allow our users to use tools like the natural language query, and also we can configure the data refresh. The final thing to mention on this slide is that Power BI has its own set of APIs, and these allow you to add and manage your data programmatically. So for example, this could be used to build a rich and interactive mobile-friendly dashboard that's fed data from your existing line of business systems. Okay, let's move on now and look at the positioning of Power BI, and I want to share this slide with you, which is a recently published paper from Forrester. And what's interesting to see is just where Microsoft is, right up in the top right-hand side of this diagram here. Power BI has really come from being a completely new product to being a market-leading product in a remarkably short space of time. And Microsoft, the investment and the pace of change in Power BI is really unbelievable. And obviously that's being recognized by the analysts. So quote there from Forrester, Microsoft Power BI leads the Agile BI pack. Throughout the history of the BI market, Microsoft has dominated and will continue to dominate the market with Excel, the de facto and most commonly used BI platform around the globe. And I thought as well, to give you a feel for the pace of change in Power BI, I'd share with you just the slides, a couple of slides that summarise the number of features that got added in November and December of last year. So I'm not going to go through these in great detail, but I will call a few of them out when we come to demo what's new. So you can see here, these are the November feature changes just for the Power BI desktop. We have a similar slide actually for the November updates for the Power BI service, which I'll show you now. And these slides will be made available to attendees afterwards as well, so don't worry if you don't have time to read through it all now. As I say, Power BI service November updates, and these actually happen weekly, so every week there are enhancements made to the service. And similarly in December, slightly lighter month, but still a large number of improvements getting made to both service and desktop in December. Okay, what I'm going to do now is move on and quickly give you kind of in demo form my pick of some of the things that I really like and that I'm finding really useful on projects that I'm working with our customers on from both the Power BI desktop and the Power BI service. Before we get on to that though, there's just one last thing. I've got a worth a mention list on the right hand side. These are things that I won't be demoing today because perhaps they're not particularly visual. Not easy to demo in a short space of time, but they're nevertheless very useful and very relevant. The first one is that Microsoft has now released an enterprise data management gateway that allows you to hook up to your on-premises data sources. And that will hook, interestingly enough, to things like SQL Server, but it also can connect up to analysis services, SQL Server analysis services, both tabular models and also now multi-dimensional cubes. Another thing that's in beta at the moment is integration with Cortana. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Cortana, it's the kind of Microsoft answer to Siri, I guess, in that you can just ask it questions and it will find the answers for you. That's in beta at the moment. We've also got some technology called Direct Query, which allows Power BI to query data with the data remaining in its source rather than being in source location, rather than being pulled through into into the Power Pivot model, and that's available for data sources like SQL Server databases. And the last thing that I've got on my worth a mention list is you're now able to use R. So R is a language for data analytics that you may or may not be familiar with. Very powerful and capable language, open source language that can be used to both create data sources for Power BI, and also R visuals may now be embedded in Power BI dashboards as well. Okay, so let's flick over to the demo now. I'm going to start with Power BI Desktop and show you some of the changes that have been made. So let me just flick over to my desktop. So this is the Power BI Desktop tool. This is the tool that you would normally use to create the dashboards that you'd want and the views that you'd want. You can see that I've got some data in here. This is actually called a report, this page, and these are all interactive as well. So I can click on the charts, and you can see that my other columns, my other charts all respond to that change. So I get some really nice capability to interactively work with my data. So I'm going to start off with a few kind of basic enhancements that have been made. We've got a lot more flexibility now with kind of labels and putting images on reports and this kind of thing. So very simply, I can click here on this title. You can see I've got a lot of options now to set my font, to set the size and the styling of the text. Very simple thing, but very nice. Similarly, if I go to a chart as well, I can click over onto the right hand side and click on the format. You'll see here I've got a lot more options now in terms of how I format my data labels, the text size, so forth and so on. We've also got some things now. We can do things like we can add reference lines as well. So if I want to put on a reference line, perhaps with a value of 500,000, you can see there's my line appearing there on the chart. So that can be quite useful when you want to highlight particular things. So we can do a lot more than we used to be able to do with labels and text size and formatting of text. And that's nice, and that enables us to create much more professional looking reports and dashboards. The next area to highlight is some of the new data connectors. So if I go to the Get Data button at the top here in my Power BI dashboard, I'll just click on More because this will bring us up a view that allows us to see everything. And you can see I've got quite a large range of different data sources, including off-the-shelf products like Dynamics CRM, Salesforce, Facebook, Active Directory, Hadoop, but also things like QuickBooks, Twilio and Zendesk. Some of the new ones that got added in most recently is Stripe and Smartsheet. We've also got ODBC connectivity, support for CSVs now as well at the top here. We've got CSVs, and we've also got, as I've already mentioned earlier, the direct query improvements. So that supports things like SQL Server databases and also SAP HANA as well. So some new data sources there, make it very easy to connect to a wide range of data sources. The next thing, it seems quite a minor thing, but actually is making a real difference, is the ability to align our charts more accurately. So previously, it was fiddly when you were arranging your charts. You kind of like were trying to get everything to line up correctly, and it was fiddly. We've now got the ability, we can quite simply just select a couple of charts. We can go up to arrange. We've got the ability to do Z ordering as well, but also we can align. So I want to align the tops of these. You can see like that. So I can very quickly start to lie out my charts appropriately. So very nice to create much more smart and professional looking reports, basically using the alignment and layout capability. Let's go and look at some of the more cool things now. So one thing that got added is something called the play axis on the scatter chart, and I can show you how we'd go about that now by going to a page here. And what I've done is I've created. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take the play axis off first of all, so we can see how it works. So you can see here I've got a scatter chart, and I'm showing here over my net sales I'm plotting on the x-axis, and my variation to budget on the y-axis, and I've chosen all the countries in Europe for which I've got data, and I've also set the size of the bubble to be equal to the gross profit. So very kind of rich visual at showing how I'm preparing what my sales are like, what my net profit's like, and gross profit is like, and also how I'm doing against my budget. And that's great, but maybe I also want to see how this varies over time. Well, that's quite easy to do because I can come into my field selector on the right hand side. I can take my fiscal month property and I'm going to drag and drop that onto the play axis. Okay, and you'll see now we've got a play axis appearing at the bottom with a play button. I can go ahead and press that button and I can play through my 12 months period, and I can see how the different countries have performed over time. And straight away then I can see that something really weird happened to Italy at the end of the year. So that might be something that I wanted to go and investigate further. So a very nice kind of rich visual that we can work with. On a more technical level, one of the really nice changes that's been made is around when we come to model our data, when we import it, we have something called the relationships view. I'll go ahead and click on that now. And so here I can see the way that my different data is related to each other. We've got some nicer things now here. We've got a zoom, so we can zoom in and out, which we didn't have before, so to make it easier to see everything. We've also got actually some nice things like automatic column detection as well, column type detection, and also something that's really very powerful is we've now got bidirectional cross filtering. So if anyone's worked with Power Pivot in the past, you know that many-to-many relationships is something that that Power Pivot struggles with really, and you have to write quite complex DAX expressions to get it to handle a many-to-many relationship correctly. Well, that's changed now. We've now got the ability to create a bidirectional relationship. So here I've got one between, say, country and site security, and also conflict of interest. If I just double click on that relationship, you can see that I've got the cross filter direction now. I've got the option to say both. So that's really nice. So we can really effectively interact with our data when we've got many-to-many relationships now and set that up. That's really making a huge difference to the way that we can model our data and analyze it. And coming back to my visualizations now to finish, the last thing that I want to highlight is the availability now of custom visuals. And this is something I wrote a blog post on a few weeks back actually for TechNet. And Microsoft have open sourced their visualizations, and they've also made it possible for people to write their own visualizations, and they're also managing and maintaining a custom visuals gallery. So I think we've got time to have a quick look at that. If I just go and let's just go and have a look at that. If I just bring up Google, my favorite search engine, and let's go and look at the if you just Google Power BI custom visuals, you'll find it. Custom visuals gallery, and you'll see here that there's a large number of custom visuals available, and these are all free for you to download and make use of within your visualization, within your Power BI dashboards. So let's go ahead and have a look at some of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab Stream Graph. This is a particularly nice one that I like working with. You can see I can download it, agree to the terms, save it. Okay. Now what I can do, I'm going to go back to my Power BI desktop. Let's add a new tab. I'm going to hit this little button here which lets me import a visualization. I'm going to go ahead and import my Outlook's decided to restart. I'm going to go ahead and import Stream Graph. Go away Outlook. Okay, it says it's imported. I now get the little visual appearing over here. I can click it to add it to my page. And now let's say we're going to show Let's show our gross sales, let's say. And I'm going to show that against my fiscal month. And I'm going to show that for every region. I should show that for every country. There we go. So it looks a bit wacky at the moment. So let's just turn off what they call the wobble. Wiggle. There we go. So I can see, I beg your pardon, I've switched these around the wrong way around. I want to show actual country down here. And I want the fiscal month as my category. There. So month by month I can see how my gross sales are changing. See a very big peak in December. Obviously the Christmas shopping period, I guess. So that's how we can use a custom visual. A huge range, ever-growing number available to use as well. Okay, so that concludes what I want to show within the Power BI desktop. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to publish this dashboard up to the Power BI service and show you some of the new features that I like within the Power BI service. Just go ahead and do that now. I just press this publish button up here. Save my changes. It'll just take a couple of seconds to publish that up to Power BI. Okay, and we've got a link there, we can open it straight away, so I'll go ahead and click that link. Okay, so we've now opened our published reports in the browser. We can see we've got the same kind of view, got the same kind of interactivity that I had before. It's very nice, rich interactivity. This will also work on mobile devices, as I say, through native apps that are available for iOS, Android and Windows. Okay, so we've got the Q&A as well. It's worth just showing that. So in order to do that, first of all, I'm going to create a dashboard. So let's create a dashboard and let's call that my revenue dashboard. So I'll go over here and say new dashboard, let's call it revenue. And I'm going to go back to my reports. And then this allows me to create my own dashboard by pinning the things that I'm particularly interested in. So maybe I'm particularly interested in variance to budget. Pin that to my dashboard. Maybe I'm particularly interested in this one over here. So this allows people to create their own dashboards. Maybe that one. And maybe this one up here as well. Okay, maybe that little table. Great. So now if I go to my revenue dashboard, I've got those available for me at a glance, and I can move these around to get the layout and the sizing that I want to have. Oops. So very quickly I can start to put together a very nice visual summary of my data. I mentioned natural language query. This is something that's been investing quite heavily. Worth showing that briefly. So we can just go to natural language query and ask questions of our data. So I might say, show me gross sales by country. And there you go. It's and maybe that's not very useful as a graph, so maybe I want to show that as a table. And there we go. So we can very quickly ask interactive questions. You'll see now what it does is it suggests questions at the bottom that you can ask. So it's very nice, very powerful functionality. By month, for example, however you want to do. So that's nice, natural language query. That's, I'd say, being a heavy investment area. A few more things to show here in Power BI. While I'm with my data, I've got the ability to export to Excel now. So maybe I'm looking at this data here, and what I actually want to do is take a local copy of it. So I can go in here, got several options, one of which is export data. I can go ahead and click on that. It gives me a CSV. There, and there's my data available, ready to work with. So very popular piece of functionality. A lot of people have been asking for that quite a while. And that works both at the dashboard level, but equally if I go down to my reports, the interactive reports, similarly on all of these as well, I've got the same functionality and come in here and export the data. So really simple, but actually really nice and really powerful and wanted by a lot of people. The next thing that I'd like to show is we've got a drill up and drill down capability within our reports. So if I go onto a different tab here and show something different, let's take this one, the year-on-year growth by region. You'll notice that when I hover over this, I've got some buttons here, drill all to the next level, also this one over here, click to turn on drill down. So I can turn on my drill down, and now I can choose any particular column here. I can click on it, say drill down into Asia Pacific. I can see the breakdown across those countries, and even now within a country I've got a drill down here as well, and I can drill down into the different areas within that country. So, and then obviously I can go back up again, drill down on a different, say Europe, France. So really nice interactivity, or even drill down on everything, which will go like that and show me all countries concurrently. So yeah, really nice, easy to use functionality that lets people explore their data more easily. Another thing that's quite nice now is when we come to look at where we get our data from. So I've already shown the increased range of data sources within Power BI desktop, but also it's worth taking a quick look at a couple of things within the service when it comes to getting data. The first one is content packs. So if I go to get data here, I've got the option to choose content packs, and I can also actually choose here services packs. So these are content packs that have been pre-prepared, and if I click on that, you can see that there's a large number of content packs available, and these will produce pre-configured, pre-prepared reports and dashboards for you to use right out of the box. And obviously if you want to customize them further, then you can do so as well. When it also comes to get data, a couple of more new things here. We've also got the ability to now connect to more files. So if I click on files, you'll see here I've now got the option to get local files, also OneDrive files, but also now a really useful thing, I think they've now added SharePoint team sites as well. So if I've got an Excel spreadsheet sitting in a SharePoint team site, I've got the ability to get the data from there as well. And the next thing I'm going to show actually end-to-end, because I think it's really useful, is we've also got the ability now to pin an Excel range to a Power BI dashboard. So let me just show you how that works. What I've got here, and I'll just open this in Excel first of all. Sitting in my OneDrive, I've got an Excel spreadsheet. Because a lot of organisations have used Excel very extensively, right? And they may well have data that's presented or formatted in it just the way that they like it. And they may not want to reinvent it all in Power BI. So if you're in that situation, this is a really nice piece of functionality. So what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to close that again now. I'm going to come back to Power BI service. I'm going to say I'm going to get a OneDrive for Business file. It's going to connect to my OneDrive now. I'm going to go into my share with everyone, and I'm going to choose Power BI demo, and I'm going to choose this sales data. I'm going to hit connect. So that's the same spreadsheet that I just opened in Excel just now. And now it gives me a choice. It says I can either import the data into Power BI, or I can connect and manage and view Excel in Power BI. So this would just literally pull the data out so that I could use it as a Power Pivot, put it into the Power Pivot database. The second option is what I'm going to choose. It's going to bring the Excel workbook itself into Power BI and see it exactly as it is. So I'm going to pin that and pull, so connect to that. Just give it a couple of seconds. It's connecting to that. And now you can see it's appeared in the reports on the right hand side. So if I click on this now, in my browser, and obviously this works across all devices as well, you will hopefully shortly see my Excel spreadsheet and my Excel chart. And that's nice, right? I've got the ability here still to edit in Excel if I want to, or use Excel online to make quick changes. But it gets better, because what I can actually do now is I can actually now select a range, and I can pin that range. So I'm going to pin that to my revenue dashboard. Now if I go to my revenue dashboard, there you go. You can now see that chart from Excel is now appearing in my dashboard. Let's just make it really nice and big. Okay. So if you're working with Excel, you can use this approach, and then you can carry on making use of the investments you've made in Excel. If you've got the visualizations and the tables displayed just the way you like in Excel, you can still use that now with Power BI. So I think it's very nice, very powerful. And the last thing I'm going to highlight in the service is something called Quick Insights, which I think is very smart. So Quick Insights attempts to look at your data for you and find things that it thinks are particularly of interest. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to take this demo dashboard that I've just uploaded. You can see I've got a little menu option here. I can do things like schedule my refresh now, but I've also got Quick Insights. So I'm going to go ahead now and click on that. And what it's doing now is it's looking through that data and trying to find what it regards as interesting insights. Now I should say this doesn't get things perfect. It is very new technology, and you know, some of the things it shows are interesting, but some of them, you know, sometimes it doesn't get things quite right. But let's go and have a look and see what it's found. Whoops, lost my little view insights. There we go. So here we go. So it said financial year 16 Q1 accounts for the majority of survey entity. Decor and dining entertainment have noticeably greater fiscal month, whatever that means. Retail storage greater forecast for Q3 and bathroom furniture. And you can see it's completely dynamically generated these just by looking at the data. So some of them are weird, you know, Europe and Asia Pacific have noticeably greater ID, that's probably something pretty spurious. But some of them are quite relevant. So IT infrastructure has noticeably less percentage variation to budget. That's interesting. Are they doing a particularly good job in IT, perhaps? Of course they are. They're IT, right? Everyone in IT does great jobs. So you can see it's generated quite a lot of insights. You need to apply some intelligence to format that, filter out the noise from the signal. But there's genuinely some useful things here. Furniture accounts for the majority of the forecast. Q4 has a noticeably greater forecast value. So it does pull out some quite nice things. And of course we can expect this technology to get better over time as well. So I think that really concludes the demos. Hopefully I've shown you quite a lot. I appreciate I have shown you quite a lot of new functionality there in quite a short space of time. Just going to wrap up now by talking about next steps, and also then we'll move on to the Q&A session. So Power BI makes sense for a lot of people because two reasons really. First of all, there's no infrastructure costs, right? If you haven't got to go out and buy servers and build data warehouses or anything like that. And secondly, the software is on a pay per user per month basis, a few pounds per user per month. The software cost is pretty insignificant. So one of the things that I really strongly recommend, and I've done very successfully with several customers now, is allow a quick evaluation of Power BI to see how it could work within your organization. And one of the things that we've done now is to package this as what we call a dashboard in a day service. This is something where we work with you to see how Power BI could work for real in your organization. So we take you through some training to show you how Power BI works and how to use it for yourselves. And then in the afternoon of that day, we actually try to take some of your real data and create a dashboard for real that can be shown to other users in the business and to stakeholders and so forth and so on. So that's a popular service. If anyone's interested in that, please do feel free to get in touch, and we can be delighted to tell you more about it. We've also listed a couple of recent white papers that have been published, and the links to them are at the bottom, and these slides will be coming out, will be made available to everyone afterwards. So really just remains for me now to say thank you very much everyone for attending today. I hope you found it useful. Power BI is a fast-moving technology, so do check back in a few months' time, and I'm sure there'll be a load more new stuff as well to show. So thanks again for attending, and I'm now going to move on to take the questions and answers. Okay, so question about pricing. Yes, so Power BI is available in two versions actually. There's a free edition, which is slightly more limited in functionality and the volume of data that's supported, and then there's also a kind of premium edition, which is on a pay per user per month basis, and it's around about £6 per user per month for that. Obviously, if you've got enterprise agreements with Microsoft, you may well get a better price. And a second question, can it connect to a SQL Azure database? Yes, absolutely. In fact, that works very well, and that will use the direct query mechanism that I talked about as well, which means the data in your Power BI dashboards will automatically stay up to date. Okay, we've no more questions, so I think we should conclude there. Thank you again, everyone, for attending. Oh, I have one more question just coming in the nick of time. Let me just see what that is. I noticed a connector to CRM online. What about CRM on-premise? That's a good question. I don't believe there is an option to connect to CRM on-premise at the moment. I will check that and let you know if that's not the case, but I'm pretty sure it's to online only at present. And the other one is Power BI tied to Office 365 in terms of licensing? No, it's not. You can take Power BI as a completely separate service whether you have Office 365 or not. If you do have Office 365, it's nice because you can share the same logins, of course, but there's no need for it. You can simply subscribe to Power BI if you want to without needing Office 365. Okay. I think that concludes. So thanks again, everyone, and I hope to speak to you soon. Thanks. Goodbye.